Welcome to Woman Soul. This is Mary, and joining me today is my sister Ann. She'll be talking to us about what a woman full of soul looks like. Some fun facts about Ann is that she is hilarious and she uses humor to diffuse situations at work. So, Ann, why don't you start by telling us what you do every day, what your normal day looks like, with lots of pagers and beepers and cell phones going off and everything else.
Well, when I tell people what I do for a living, no matter where I am, whether it's at the grocery store, the farmer's market, the beach,
The beat.
yeah, the beach, um, people love to tell me their sad stories. And the reason for that is that I work for hospice. I'm a hospice social worker. And it often brings to mind people who have lost people, so I say, oh, yeah, I'm a hospice social worker because everyone always wants to know what you do. And then, they go into very personal details about, things that were very difficult for them or very heartfelt for them. And so I'm not sure to what extent people associate comedy or humor with my job, but I do. So I don't think I was a funny person when I was younger. I was a very, very serious person. I took life very seriously, and I still do. I mean, I still take life seriously, but the difference is that within about a month of doing my job, I realized this job here. I realized, oh my gosh, humor accomplishes in 20 minutes what 2 years of therapy can accomplish. And there was something really important about that. There was something really amazing about that. So it's not just, cracking a joke or, reading joke books and having at it. No, it's a very specific kind of humor. It's the humor that says, I'm human, you're human, we're in this ship together. We better find the life jackets. And if we can't find the life jackets, we better learn how to swim real, real fast. That's what I do for a living. So basically, just to flesh it out just a little bit, I go to people's homes and I help caregivers learn how to take care of the loved ones that they have who are dying. And that's a very, 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 very hard job. And I don't take my job lightly, but I do think that sometimes humor is the only answer that we have left. When our bucket of solutions is empty, that's what we've got.
Awesome. And where does your inspiration come from, or what inspires you in your life? You continue to do what you do and to be refilled and have a full bucket to go in there.
Oh, that's a good question, and everyone's always asking about my self-care. As a social worker, actually part of our code of ethics is self-care because if you are going to help another person, you need to know that you're not bringing your own stuff into the equation. You want to know that you're coming from a place where you can really be present, where you can really hear what's going on, where you can really feel. Um, and I think uh, for me, it's this overwhelming feeling that we are at the root of everything, connected. We're connected heart to heart. And so anything that would allow me to feel that is something that helps to fill me up. So sometimes I like to go and watch dance, for example, or sometimes I like to go on hikes with my friends, or I'll have people over for dinner, or I'll read a really good book. I'm not really into movies all that much, but sometimes I'll watch like short documentaries or things like that. And they're very helpful in reminding me that we're all coming from the same place, a place of vulnerability, a place where we want to be loving. And I think that's very helpful for me.
What one?
Nope, cutting out.
Well, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to keep on going with my second question, my third question. What is one challenge you know you are facing right now or working through right now? And how are you trying to overcome it?
Well, this morning, I mean, that question is different every day, but this morning, I woke up thinking about the fact that I really would benefit from relying on my intuition a little bit more. So, over the last maybe 10 years, I've been developing my intuitive thinking, my intuitive decision making. And as a result of that, I have an entire basket full of solutions that have worked for me in the past related to my intuitive thinking process. And that's been wonderful. And it's been very useful, successful. You know, I've really grown. I've really changed. My life is very different, and I feel like I'm very guided and loved through this process. But my temptation is to use the solutions that worked in the past because they worked. So why wouldn't I want to use them? But they're not appropriate for today. So they could be useful. People could see them as possible solutions. But for me, if I rely on my intuition, I realize actually, that's not the answer this time. I think something else is called for. And so learning to sit in that uncertainty and being comfortable with the fact that I don't know how this is all going to unfold is really important. And I think if I continue to use the solutions from the past, then I'm kind of setting up the framework of the future to be structured like the past. And that's not what any of us are called to do. We're called to be vulnerable, we're called to be open, we're creative human beings. And I think being open to that intuitive decision making helps us to really embrace a future that has yet to be written, not only for ourselves, but with other people, gathering other people to us and along with us so that we can all unfold in a more intuitive and creative way, which will allow us to find solutions we haven't tried yet. And I'm sorry, but there are times when that's exactly what's needed. We have a lot of situations where we continue to try to use old solutions, and really what's called for is something new.
What are you most grateful for in your life right now?
Well, there's a lot of answers to that question. I mean, I'm very blessed. I have a lot of people who love me. I can pay my bills. I have a job that's satisfying. So, I mean, there's a lot of things to be thankful for, but I think the one that's most um, abiding, the one that I can rely on the most, and I guess that's why I would pick it, is guidance from the divine, which would include, I think, angelic guidance. And I feel like no matter what unfolds or what comes next, whether it's good, bad, indifferent, they're going to be there for me. And I'm very, very thankful that everything that I have been striving towards has been shaped to a certain extent um, by my openness to asking for things that I would like or things that I think would make me happy
Mm-hmm.
in a way that would serve my highest good and the good of all whom I touch. So I think the angels and divine guidance really helps to open up new doors and new possibilities when we ask that kind of question. Like, I want true love, or I want to be happy, or I want a job that's satisfying, or, I want to pay my bills, I want to get my car fixed. And always asking that within this framework of, in a way that will be in my highest good and the good of all whom I touch. And I ask for that for other people as well, because none of us are ever completely certain that what we're asking for is actually what's in our best interest, or what is in our highest good. And I think being open to other possibilities is always very important.
Who is one person in your life who has touched you beyond compare or beyond belief? And how they touched you? It can be somebody that you know personally, it can be a famous person, it can be someone who has died or passed over. Who would it be?
Okay, well,
It?
uh, I mean, there's so many people that have been my teachers, interpersonally and also through literature. And I also feel like our ancestors continue to have some guidance in our lives as well. So it's really a difficult question, I think, to answer. But I think there are a lot of there are a lot of twists and turns that my life has taken, and I think that at every twist and turn, there's been a pivotal person who helped me to see that there was something beyond what I thought was possible for myself. So, for example, when my grandparents helped me to learn and to become someone who valued education, that was a pivotal turning point. And when I was nervous about going to college, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, I don't think I can do this. Like, how am I going to afford it? And what am I going to do? There was one of my boyfriend's moms said, that's not an option. You need to do this. You need to figure this out. Period. End of story. You don't have a choice. This is going to happen. And I was like, okay, I guess that's going to happen. And then, when I wanted to do, when I wanted to really be someone, and by that I mean someone that I could believe in, somebody that I thought was living a life that I could respect. Um, I had this professor who actually taught something that I didn't believe in. It was like, well, if you're born into specific circumstances, then you're kind of stuck in those circumstances. That's kind of the one philosophy. I took philosophy in college, and I went to his office, and I was so upset. I was so mad. I was so angry because it was going against everything that I wanted to believe. I
Mm-hmm.
was tempted to believe that there was a way for any person who truly wanted to flourish or to grow. And I said that to him, and I said, you made a profound influence on my life, but not in a good way. And he really respected that, and he really appreciated that, and he ended up being one of my mentors. He ended up really being a champion for me, and really helping me to see that I had thoughts that were of value. So that was really great, like really important for me, to believe that I could create something within myself that could be of use, that could be of service. Um, and then I think, when I first started hospice, I was terrified because I didn't know what I was doing, and I knew I was being guided to do it. I knew that this is what I was supposed to do, but I thought, oh, well, maybe in 10 years I'll be ready to do it. I'm not ready to do it yet. There's no way I can do it yet. But intuitively, I knew, okay, no, you do it now. Now's the time to do it. You shouldn't wait 10 years. You should do it now. And so my first supervisor was amazing. She was so beautiful. She was so good to me because she allowed me the space to grow. And she looked at me when I thought I wasn't enough, and she said, you're doing a good job. And you're doing a good job not because you're perfect, but because you're loving and you're careful and you're thoughtful. And no, you don't have all the answers, and no, you don't know how to do everything yet, but that will come in time. What you have is the spirit for the job, and you can't create that. You can't manufacture that. And so she allowed me to stay in a job that was amazingly difficult at a time when I was losing people of my own that I really cared for. And so I was heartbroken, while I was learning how to love other people at the same time in this environment where death was everywhere. And she was really helpful, really useful, and now I have, my fiance is somebody who is yet another moment of a turning point in my life where he welcomes joy into everything. He loves to dance and he loves to have fun. And at a time when I've really been saturated in loving people through grief and loss and death and all those big existential questions, he is kind of again steering me in a direction that allows me to see, and there's death and there's love.
Mm-hmm.
There's death and there's hope. There's death and there's fun, you know. So all along the way, this really twisty, turny, curvy life that I've led, there's been someone placed at that turning point that allowed me to take that next step. So it's very hard for me to answer that question in a way that picks one person. You know, if I were to pick like a real person, so many people. If I were to pick somebody that I don't know, it's a lot easier to answer that question because
Mm-hmm.
theor I can theorize, I can, talk about, how they've changed their mind, but on a very practical, real human level, every single time I've needed to make a dramatic change, there's been an angel there, a human earth angel there waiting for me, positioned, stationed there for me to say whatever needed to be said. And they might love me or they might not like me. Like my boyfriend's mom, she didn't actually like me. She was like, I don't think you're good for my son. I don't want you as my daughter-in-law. But she still was there to say, girl, no, you are going to college. There is no excuse. So you never know where that next earth angel is going to be or where that next turn is going to be. And so I don't know. I think it's really hard to answer that question. So I didn't answer it.
You talked about who was important to you and inspired you on your journey, which is great. If there is one thing you could tell every woman or you wanted every woman to know, what would it be?
Well, honestly, I think I would say you're doing a good job. Being a woman, being a human being, is damn near impossible because we're aware of our frailties. We're aware of what it is that we want to do and how short we fall.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say one of the biggest difficulties for women is that we hold ourselves up to impossible standards and we're also held often to impossible standards. And I think we judge ourselves very harshly and we see the one thing that we didn't do right rather than days worth of things that we did do right. And by right, I mean, we showed up and we were loving and we tried to protect people and we tried to protect ourselves and we tried to contribute to the highest good in the best way that we could. And maybe we weren't as skillful at it as we wanted to be, but our heart was in it. And I think a lot of people with heart walk through their journeys feeling like they're a failure when in fact they're not a failure at all. And that's what I do basically for a living. The answer to your question at the very beginning is that I walk into a home, into a stranger's home. I've never met them before. I look around, I see the patient who's dying, I see the family who's trying to care for them, and I see everyone. Usually, I see everyone trying their best to
Mm-hmm.
show up and to love each other. And everyone's got a different answer about how to do that, and a different style, a different way of doing it. But I'm tremendously blessed to be able to see that, to be able to see love in action. I had studied philosophy, and philosophy was very useful to me because it helped me to structure my mind and to really ask questions and to think about things deeply. But I always craved helping people or seeing people in action. Like, how does this actually work? What actually happens on the ground? And now I get to see that. And I would say to women, we're born in an environment often in this time and space, especially Western women, but I think most women, most cultures suggest that our lot in life is to be the emotional laborer. And that's a very tough role. And when we hold ourselves to the standard of taking care of everyone emotionally, ourselves and everyone else, um, it's a role that's very hard to fill because there's so many difficulties. Being human is very, 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 very hard. And we don't know what we're doing. That's what it is to be a human being. We don't know. We're conscious of the fact that we don't know, but we
Mhm.
don't know what's happening right now. And sometimes I just look up and I'm like, what is going on? Like, how am I supposed to do this? I don't know. And everyone else has the same thought, the same feeling, like, what am I supposed to be doing? And I feel like if everyone could just take a moment and think, yeah, you know what, I showed up today and I did the best I could, and I'm going to keep trying to do the best I can.
Mhm.
That's enough. That is enough. That's enough. And at the end of life, when I'm there with someone who's literally on their deathbed, I look at them and I say, you've done a good job. Look at all the people that you've loved. Look at everything that you've done. You've done a good job. It's complete. you know. And I encourage the families to do that for them. If I don't do it because I think it's better coming from the family, I'll tell them, tell this person that you love who's leaving what it is that they showed you how to do or how to be that will allow you to continue to flourish as the human being that you are. Let them know that they were enough. And so when I say enough, it's not like, well, you're doing a good enough job. No, it's like,
Right.
you are enough. You're beautiful as you are. You're doing a good job.
And your humor, where does that fit in with that? Because I know it does.
Yeah,
Just
well,
use it when
oh. So,
at work.
one of the first things that I learned was, I would go into a home and it's often a woman who's a caregiver, whether it is the daughter, the wife, the mother, the ex-wife. It's not, like, it's just a woman usually, right?
Mhm.
And the woman will be like, I did this and I did that, and oh my God, and just really like distraught. And I look at them and I just say, wow, yeah, you're human. You're human. That's what it is. You're doing it, baby. You're really human. And
Yeah.
that's it, and they're like, yeah, that's true. That's true. It is true. I mean, it sucks, but it's true. And they realize within just a split second that that's all that's asked of them. That's all that's asked of you is to do your best as a human, not as a perfect being.
Mhm. How would you define a woman full of soul? What is one word that you would use to define a woman full of soul? What's one thing that you've seen?
So for me, a woman with soul that I admire, because I think there's a lot of women of soul and it looks different for different people.
Mhm.
For me, what I admire, what I aspire towards, and what I'm still working on is joy. Like
Mhm.
having joy, being of joy. And for me, that means having the ability to value life in the situation, in the experiences that you're in, and
Mhm.
bringing upliftedness to that. Not from the outside, not like I'm going to bring you something to uplift this situation, but really from the inside out, from your heart out. So I'm willing to be present, I'm willing to be available, I'm willing to be vulnerable, I'm willing to be open, I'm willing to be loving. That's part of it. But there's an and I believe in basic goodness, and I feel we're one and the same, and I feel there's possibility here. There's always possibility to love, and there's always possibility to be hopeful, thankful, grateful, confused, conflicted, and yet deeply and profoundly moved by our human experience. And being willing to have that level of passion um, in a way that includes people, in a way that inspires people to keep going. That's for me what joy is. And so humor is a version of joy for me. Humor is very useful and that's a version of joy. But so is just seeing the lovely things in your environment that we take for granted every day. You know,
Tell us one fun fact about you, because there's so many fun facts.
about me.
Mm-hmm.
About me. Uh,
No, maybe. I want you to tell everybody about your elephant puppy love.
okay. So, um, so I like to. People often ask the question, "How do you take care of yourself?" You know, and one of our jobs is to take care of ourselves, and so for me, the answer is endorphin boost. So when I worked with people with dementia, I learned that even when you're really confused, even when you have no idea what's happening, you don't know who anybody is, you don't know where you are, you don't know why you're there, you don't know what's going on, and this reality does not match up with the reality that you remember, there's still a part of you that can experience joy. There's still a part of you that can feel included, can feel wanted, can feel loved. And that can happen actually from a stranger because everybody's a stranger to you at a certain point when you have dementia. And so there's something deep, deep in us that allows us to feel that. And so I decided to take advantage of that for myself and really start to grow my appreciation for endorphin boost possibilities in my life. So things that produce endorphin boosts are things like being hugged or seeing really cute things, and so whenever I walk on the street and I see a dog, which I think is a puppy, they're all puppies to me. I will be like, oh my gosh, what a cute puppy. And I have to go and pet them and be like so excited and all this. And it's not fake, it's like real. It's like, I'm really excited about this puppy. I allow that endorphin boost to happen. I allow myself to appreciate this cute, adorable thing. This may or may not have a raincoat on, you know, like you're just like, oh my God, you're so cute, or babies, you know, or little kids, or you know, people who are holding hands, or you know, like I'll sit in a restaurant and I'll look over and find the people in love and be like, oh my God, they're so in love right now, so excited, you know, and I need it, you know, like I feel it. I'm in it with them to a certain extent. You know, they don't necessarily hopefully notice that because that's a little creepy, but for me, I'm like, oh my God, you're so cute. And so uh, I also like fun facts that support my worldview. And I came across this thing the other day that there's this research project that was trying to understand elephants better, and elephants' brains light up like human brains do when human beings look at puppies. When elephants look at humans, so when an elephant looks at us, they feel the same way towards us as we feel towards puppies when we look at puppies. So basically, I'm an elephant puppy, and I absolutely, completely, 100% love that. And I've been telling everyone about the fact that I am now an elephant puppy. For the rest of my life, I'm an elephant puppy. And so, you know, that just brings me joy. So I mean, there's no elephant in this room, there's no puppies in this room, but just thinking about that just makes me happy.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's a wrap for today. Thank you for
Thank
watching
you.
A Woman Full of Soul. And thank you for joining us and for taking time out of your day to do this fabulous video for everyone.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for all of the effort and time and energy that you give to everyone that you give your energy to, and that really positive presence and hope filled presence that you bring when you minister to the people you minister to, and when you do outreach to the families that you bring. I'm sure that they are very grateful, happy for all that you do, even in those really difficult moments where some of them may scream at you or do other things that I know people do in hospice, but it's
Yep.
all,
You never know what's going to happen next.
you never know. And why it's so important to also have a sense of humor when you're in that position,
Yeah.
that you're prepared.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for your time, and I know that everyone will enjoy and gather something from this video.
Well,
So
thank you very much for having me.
you're
And
welcome.
just y'all remember elephant
We're gonna
puppies.
remember love.
Ah,
Elephant puppy love. Yep.
elephant puppies.
Yay. All right. Well, have a good night, and I will talk to you soon. For everyone else, I will see you soon with another episode of A Woman Full of Soul. God bless.